What is limitless? Beyond nationalities, beyond religion, beyond species, beyond castes. There is, in fact, an eternal order that exists in the universe. In fact, the Indian constitution has called Hinduism a way of life. Sadly, today it has been misrepresented as a religion.
Reality is one without a second.
In this episode, I bring you wisdom from the Vedas, from the mouth of a powerful spiritual master, or shall I say, a spiritual activist. I ask him questions on the very foundations of life. That which always was, which will be, and which always is. He is like none other, tirelessly spreading the age-old science of Advaita throughout. He has also authored more than 30 books on the subject and is the founder of Center of Vedanta Studies. Advaita has been a classical age-old system of spiritual realization in India. Who else could better answer these existential questions other than Swami Chidananda himself? Swamiji, I welcome you to the show. Thank you so much for your time.
This is a very good initiative. I also love to be here with you.
I'm glad Mohanji introduced us. In this segment, let's hear Swami Chidanandapuri's point of view on Dharma. Atma tvam girijamati sahajara prana sharirang griham.
The greatest contribution Bharat gave to the world is the concept of Dharma. The concept of Dharma. That is the greatest contribution. Then comes the question, what is Dharma? See, the word Dharma comes from the root dhr dharane. That is to hold. So Dharma means that which is holding everything together.
Yad yad karma karomi tat tadakhilam shambhu tavaradhanam.
That which is holding everything together, that is Dharma. Let me explain a little more. We are living in this world. We are seeing this world. And just observe different strata or the phenomenal planes which we are seeing. Start with the smallest particle we can imagine. Take the case of an atom. How an atom is existing? What is an atom? How it is existing? When we analyze it, we will realize incessant movements of subatomic particles, incessant movements that makes an immovable atom. And see these subatomic particles in specified orbits they are moving without breaking an order. So an order is there. A scheme is there. Or to use a more apt word, a rule is there. Obeying that rule. All subatomic particles are moving and it makes an atom exist. And look at this universe. The extent of the universe we do not know. How many trillions and trillions of galaxies are there, we do not know. But one who is chanting Shiva Sahasranama or Lalita Sahasranama will of course know Aneka Kodi Brahmanda Nayakaha or Ananta Kodi Brahmanda Janani. That means there are innumerable Brahmandas. Crores and crores of Brahmandas are there. And in one Brahmanda, there will be millions and millions of stars. And how many planets are there around one star, we do not know. So the extent of the universe, we do not know. We cannot say at all. But there is an order. There is a scheme which is abiding everything together. So right from the subtlest atom to the grossest universe, everything is held together by a rule, by a scheme, which is existing, and that rule no one can break. What is that? That rule or that scheme which is holding everything together, we are calling it by the name Dharma. Dharma. Dharyate anena sarvam iti dharma. By which everything is held together, that is Dharma. So, Dharma is the universal scheme. Dharma is the scheme which is holding everything together. That is Dharma. So, it is the universal scheme. So, when we understand Dharma like this, naturally a question will come. In our Shastras and in our day-to-day life, we are speaking about dharmic life and all. Our life must be according to Dharma. We must lead a life of Dharma. So what is that? If the order of the world, the order of the universe is meant by the term Dharma, what is the meaning of dharmic life? The reply is, we must understand the rule, the scheme, the order which is holding everything together and live accordingly. Our life must be tuned in such a way as it will not distract or disrupt the scheme of the world. My thoughts, my words, or my deeds, they must not disrupt the world order, the universal pattern. With that thought within, I have to live in this world. Because each and every person, everybody is living here to have happiness, to get happiness. Whose happiness? One's own happiness. And to get that happiness, I am working here. I am living here in this world. And in course of my life or in the course of the activities which I am doing to have happiness, I must not distract or disrupt the universal scheme which is Dharma. So when our life is attuned to that karmic values, attuned to that with that universal order, then our life is a dharmic life. So Bhagavan Vedavyasa in the Mahabharata says, Truyatam dharma sarvasvam Trutvaidad avadharyatam Atmana pradikulani Paresham na samachareda. You please come and hear. Truyadam dharma sarvasvam. You please hear the essence of dharma. I am teaching you the essence of dharma. What it is. And after hearing, what you have to do? Trutvaidad avadharyadam. After hearing, abide by that. Adhere to that. Atmana pratikulani pareshamna samachared. Don't perform to others what is not acceptable to yourself. So we must not do anything to others which is not acceptable to ourselves. That is the crux of dharma. That is the crux of dharma. So dharmic life is such a life which is attuned to the universal life, which will not disrupt the scheme which is holding everything together. That is, by my words, by my thoughts, or by my deeds, I must not make any problems or troubles. I must not create any trouble in the universal scheme. Such a life is dharmic life.
Pratyaksha Maheshwari Praleya Chalavamsha Pavanakari Kashi Puradhishwari.
Truly, dharma is such a small word with just 2 syllables, but the meaning can be explained for hours. What are your key takeaways from this segment? Do share your thoughts in the comment section below. We often speak about right and wrong. The prejudiced nature of our mind dilutes the truth. What is truth anyway? Is it relative? There is in fact an eternal order. Swamiji in this next segment explains this eternal order called Sanatana Dharma beautifully. Have a look.
Sanatana Dharma is Dharma. And by the term Sanatana, eternal is meant. Never ending. Eternal. Rishis who discovered Vedas through their tapasya, through their inquiries, Rishis realized the reality on which all the universal phenomena are existing. And after that realization, they exhorted to the world what they have realized. What is real? What is the goal of human life? How you can reach there? They taught all these things. And their teaching is Veda. And even though they taught many things, what is the greatness of human birth, what is our goal, how we can reach there, what is the connection between the microcosm and macrocosm, who is controlling the whole system. So many things they taught. How we can reach there, what are the hurdles, how we can cross those hurdles. So many subjects they taught through Vedas. But the very base of their teaching is, there is no doubt, it is Dharma. So based on Dharma they taught. And that teaching, which comes directly from Veda, it is called Vaidika Dharma or Vedic Dharma. And the Vedic Dharma is also called Sanatana Dharma. Why it is called Sanatana Dharma? Because it is Sanatana. Sanatana means eternal, never ending. Because it is not some revelations of one person. It is not some ideas or some calculations of one person, but it is based on the order which is abiding or which is holding everything together. It is there. It is not a religion. It is not a philosophical proposition. It is not a set of dogmas. It is not a bunch of mythological aspects. It is the very base on which all these are existing. It is the value system. So Sanatana Dharma is the Dharma which is the base of all philosophies, all mythologies, all rituals, all religions, and everything. By the term Sanatana Dharma, we must understand it is not something created or something made. Because one thing or whatever be it has a birth, it will have a death. If there is a beginning, there will be an end. There is no dispute in this. So when we say Dharma is Sanatana, eternal, it must not have a beginning also. So Sanatana Dharma is that Dharma which is prevailing here without a birth and death. It was here, it is there, and it will be there. That universal values, that eternal values on which all religions are built, on which all social systems are built, on which all philosophies, everything are resting. That very base is called Sanatana Dharma. We must keep in mind when Swamiji, Vivekanandaji, addressed the world through the Parliament of Religions. In his very first lecture, he thanked the organizers of that fest with the word, "I thank you in the name of the mother of all religions." So Sanatana Dharma is not another religion. It is not another religion. It is the very substratum, it is the very base on which all the social systems like religion, nationalism, everything are resting. So it is the very base. That is Sanatana Dharma. And because this Dharma spread in the world from Bharat, from the land that is in between Himalaya and Hindu Samudra, this Dharma is also called Hindu Dharma. It is called Sanatana Dharma because it is eternal. It is called Vaidika Dharma because it's coming from Vedas. If we are going to explain Sanatana Dharma, it will not come within the scope of a small question and answer session. We will have to talk for hours and hours together. But this is the very basic idea of Sanatana Dharma.
Reality is one without a second. That is why, even though we have 330 million gods, the essence is just one. How is that possible? How is it practical to worship so many gods? I asked Swami Chidananda, and here is his answer.
The basic teaching of the Veda is reality is one without a second. Ekam Sad. The truth is one and the same. Tadeva Saumeda Magra Asid Ekameva Dvitiyam. O my son, the truth is one without a second. That is the basic teaching of Veda. Neha nanasti kinchana. There are no many. Many are not there. Of course, in the phenomenal plane, we are seeing many. Everything is different. One thing is different from another. Nothing in this world is staying as identical. Differences are there everywhere. In all manifestations, differences are there. But when we go deeper, analyzing to find out what is the existence absolute, then we will come to that reality which is one without a second. And this reality, our Rishi is called by the name Brahman. Why they used such a word? Because everything else developed from that one existence absolute. Everything else are just manifestations of that reality. So the very cause of all manifestations, they are called by the name Brahman. Because Brahmana, the process of manifesting, the phenomenon of manifesting, that came from that. That is why it is called Brahman. It comes from the root Brah. And in the phenomenal plane, we are here. We are in this universe. So we as Jiva are there. And the world in which we are living is there. And as the world is there, and there is a scheme which is holding all particles of this world, there is something or there is someone who is controlling everything. So there are three things. One, the Jiva. and the other the Jagat, the world, and Ishvara, the controller of all phenomenal existence. And all these three, Jagat, Ishvara and Jiva, are manifestations of one and single truth. From one reality all these came, and that is Brahman. This is the basic teaching of Veda. And see, as long as we are living in this world as jivas, identifying ourselves with these limited objects, of course, we have to obey the universal rules. We have to worship that which is controlling everything. And that controlling faculty we are calling by the name Ishvara. Ishvara is one who is controlling. Nobody can negate that Ishvara. If a scheme is there, if an order is there, there must be something or somebody who is controlling this scheme, who is responsible for that. Him we are calling Ishvara. And how many Ishvaras are there? There is only one Ishvara. There are no two Ishvaras. And this Ishvara is responsible for all universal phenomena, Srishti, Sthiti, Samhara and all. That is creation, sustenance and dissolution. So these phenomena we are seeing. Because of these phenomena, this universe is existing. So in the phenomenal plane, we must not or we cannot negate this creation, sustenance and dissolution. So the aspect of Ishvara responsible for creation, we call him by the name Brahma. And the same Ishvara, when we look upon him from the viewpoint or point of view of sustenance, we call him Vishnu. And the same Ishvara we are calling by the word Rudra or Shiva when we look from the point of view of dissolution. So one and the same Ishvara is called Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva. And these three are gods with differences in Guna structure. Because creation happens from Rajas. Brahma is Rajasic. And sustenance is always connected with Sattva. And Vishnu is Sattvic. And as dissolution is connected with Tamas, and Rudra is Tamasic. So when we take Trimurtis, Brahma, Vishnu and Maheshwara, as those responsible for creation, protection and dissolution, they are Rajasic, Sattvic and Tamasic. But we must understand another thing. As for a Vaishnava, Vishnu is not limited to Sattva-guna alone, because a Vaishnava sees Vishnu as Sarveshwara, the all-powerful, the all-pervading, omnipotent. In the same way, a Shaiva is seeing Shiva as not as a god of dissolution, but as powerful, omniscient. In the same way, those who are worshipping Brahma, they are viewing Brahma as all-powerful, omnipotent and omniscient. So, there are two levels of worship. One as different devatas with different qualities, and from the higher point of view, it is Ishvara. It is the manifestation of one and the same Ishvara. So we must understand that the Shiva of Shaiva is the same as Vishnu of Vaishnavas. There are no two Ishwaras, because Ishvara is one and the same. So the same Ishvara, Vaishnavas are calling Vishnu and Shaivas are calling Shiva. And what is responsible for all these differences? That is Guna structure. And the collective of this Guna, we call it the Shakti. Shakti is the collective of the three Gunas, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. So there are Shaktayas who are worshipping Shakti, and Shakti also is being worshipped in different levels of manifestations and different permutations and combinations of these gunas. Roughly we can classify them as Shaktayas. Amongst them also there are more sattvic, more rajasic, more tamasic. Different groups are there and different styles of worship are there. So Shaktayas are there, those who are worshipping Shakti, Vaishnavas are there, Shaivas are there, and of course Ganapatiyas are there, those who are worshipping Ganapati, Skandas are there, those who are worshipping Skanda Subramanya. So many. But we must understand, all these are different ways to reach the same goal. And all these are different manifestations of the same reality. Ekam sad vipraha bahudha vadanti. The truth is one and the same, the reality is one and the same. Callers are calling it by many names.
I hope that clarified some of the popular myths around worshipping so many gods. I've always been confused about it. In fact, since childhood, I've felt connected to all of them and even the formless. This truly was very eye-opening. Swami Chidananda's messages are accepted by every spiritual evolver, yet he calls himself the common man. In my next segment, I ask him the difference between Rishis, Yogis, Avdutas, Maharishis, Siddhas, Brahmarishis, and such demarcations.
The word meaning of Rishi is one who has realized or discovered mantra. Shayaha mantra drashtaraha. Rishis are seers of mantras. That is, those who realized or those who saw Veda mantras and taught to the world, they are called Rishis. And there is another definition of Rishi, that is Rishayaha Satya Drashtaraha. That means those who have realized the truth, they are called Rishis. So, the common language, Rishi means one with the realization of truth and one who discovered Veda mantras, a Rishi. But when we go to the root meaning, the Shabda Rishi comes from the root Rishi Gatau. When we take that root, the meaning of Rishi will be one who is moving, one who is traveling. How? See, one who is moving in the front, showing the path, showing the way to others. One who is leading the whole society. One who is leading the whole society is a Rishi. That is the meaning of Rishi. And when we are qualifying him with the word Mahat to show his greatness, then Rishi becomes Maharshi. Mahancha asau Rishihi cha, Maharshi, the great Rishi. So Maharshi is basically a Rishi. When he is qualified as Mahan, a great man, then he is a Maharshi. Then if we are qualifying him with the word Rajan, that is to show he was a king earlier. Before entering into the position of a Rishi, he was a king. He ruled a certain area as a king. To show that, we will call him Rajarishi. Raja plus Rishi, Rajarishi. In the same way, one who has realized Veda fully, or one who is with Veda, one in whose hand or in whose hold there is Veda, he is called a Brahmarishi, because Brahma means Veda. And in common language, when one person identified as a Brahmana, and when he becomes a Rishi, he will be called Brahmarishi. Brahma plus Rishi, Brahmarishi. In the same way, when a Devata becomes a Rishi, he will be called Devarshi. So all these are Rishis. Mahan, Rajan, Brahma, Deva, all these are qualifying words. All these are Rishis. Then there comes the word Muni. What is the meaning of a Muni? Muni is one who is immersed in the contemplation of the truth. He is a Muni. That is Mananad Munihi. One who is always contemplating the ultimate reality or meditating on the ultimate reality. He is a Muni. Mananad Munihi. A Muni need not be a Rishi. or a Rishi need not be a Muni. Both are different, distinct. Then there is Sanyasi. Sanyasi is one who has renounced all bondages. That is, after renouncing 3 bondages like my wealth, Viteshana, my children, Putreshana, and my world. By the word world, name, fame, all these things are meant. Lokeshana. So renouncing these 3 Yashanas, one who is trying to reside in himself, one who is in quest of the existence absolute, Ishvara, is a sannyasi. Or in other words, a sannyasi is one who has renounced all Vedic rituals. One who has renounced all Vedic rituals to get Bhuhu, Bhuvaha and Suvaha. That is, this world, enjoyments of this world and the worlds above. So one who has renounced these worlds and rituals to get or to attain these worlds, a sannyasi. So Rishi can be a sannyasi, or a sannyasi can become a Rishi. But there is no rule that a sannyasi will become a Rishi or a Rishi is a sannyasi. No. In our Shastras, scriptures, especially in Puranas and Itihasas, almost all Rishis were householders. Almost all Rishis, except a few, were householders. They were living there with their wives and family, and still they were Rishis. This is to be noted very carefully, because in the present day world, many a time people think that Rishis were sannyasis. I have heard even many scholars speaking that sannyasins were giving advices to kings in their palaces. No, they were Rishis. Sannyasins were not living in palaces and giving advices to kings. They were Rishis. Rishi is different from sannyasi. Of course, a sannyasi can become a Rishi, or a Rishi can become. For example, in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, we can see a Rishi, a great Rishi, a Maharshi, Yajnavalkya, becoming a sannyasi. Yajnavalkya had 2 wives. And there is an incident explained in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad that Yajnavalkya calls one of his wives, Maitreyi, and tell her, "Oh Maitreyi, I am going to accept sannyasa. I am going to become a sannyasi. So I am dividing my whole wealth and I am giving to you and Atyayani." Such an incident comes in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. So it shows Yajnavalkya was a Maharshi, and in later days he became sannyasi. So you must understand, they are different. So Muni Rishi, Sanyasi. And there is another category, Siddhas. Siddha is a Guna. Guna means a set. That is within the celestial beings. There are so many sets of celestial beings like Gandharva, Innara, Impurusha, Charana, so many. Amongst them comes Siddha also. And another meaning for Siddha is one who has accomplished something. Accomplishment is Siddhi. So one with accomplishment is Siddha. So what is the accomplishment? What accomplishment he have got? It varies from person to person. So we cannot say such and such a person is a Siddha. Don't say that. Because Siddhi in the eyes of one will not be a Siddhi in the eyes of another person. It is purely relative. Siddhi for one man will not be a Siddhi for another. It all depends on the attitude. It all depends on your vision. For example, when one man or woman takes some bhasma from the air, waving his hands, if he is taking bhasma, then common people may call he is a Siddha. He may be a Siddha, there is no doubt. But at the same time, he may be a magician also. A magician can do that. In the same way, if he is waving his hands and he is taking laddu or jalebi, then he may be considered a Siddha. Of course, he may be a Siddha, I cannot say he is not a Siddha. But at the same time, magicians can do the same thing. So, we cannot say who is a Siddha observing from outside. But when we go deep into our Shastras, the greatest Siddhi human being can have is the absolute knowledge of the self. So Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi says, Siddhasya vitti tata eva siddhi.
To be honest, Swamiji has only touched upon the periphery with these questions. His knowledge has so much depth that one episode is simply not enough. We do have some more interviews with him lined up. If you have some specific questions on Vedanta, please drop those questions in the comment section below. I'll see you again next week with another guest. Stay tuned.
ईश्वर प्रणिधान